Let's do a quick sound check, see if you guys can hear me. To make sure I got your pip chip giveaway. I know you guys are addicts at this point. A quick sound check. It sounds like it's coming through for me, so let me know how you guys, what the sound quality sounds like for you guys. Clear? All right, cool. All right. I can feel it. He's holding out. Although I don't think your strategies work lately. Hit the button this time, right? All right. Hopefully I win today. Vic, I think so. Vic, you had what, one or two last week? I feel like you did. Maybe. I know it was definitely one, but I feel like it could have been two. All right, so first things first. I had two people that we were able to do tomorrow. One person I talked to today. I'm going to try to get her set up. Rob was actually going to come back, and he was going to do the nightly chart school for us. And I'd been talking to my friend for basically ever to have her do it, and she used to do them for another group, and it was always too busy, and I could just never get her really nailed down, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, she's no longer doing them anywhere else, and I think she really misses it. So I reached out today, and I was like, hey, want to do it on Thursday? I'll be in Vancouver. Can't do it. She's like, but unfortunately, she can't do it at the normal time from 8 to 9. I'm sorry, from 9 to 10. She's like, that's way past my bedtime. She's like, I'm trading London Open now. So I was like, what about 7? Can you do 7? She's like, yeah, I could do 7. I can make that work. It's a little bit past my bedtime, but I can do it. And so yeah, so I'm gonna touch base with her tomorrow afternoon to make sure she has all the software to stream. We'll do a small test tomorrow just to make sure that she has no problems logging in and doing it. But yeah, super excited. She's an absolutely amazing trader. She's actually one of my students from the New York area. She is absolutely unreal. She knows the system absolutely inside and out. She will talk about position sizing. She'll talk about really, kind of overnight swings. It's going to be more set up, and she's going to do the same type of setups that we deal with. She knows momentum breakout, but for the most part, she's going to keep it more or less to this kind of trending. And she's literally going to go through every different currency pair there is. She probably won't bring up the scanner at all. I told her that we use Forex Factory to talk about news, but I told her, hey, seriously, just keep things simple. Run pair through pair by pair. Just literally set up, what the trend states are, where the trades are, and again, she'll talk about swing highs and swing lows. That's something that she talks about. No, technically 7 is like right around her bedtime. We were talking at 8. Like around 8:40, like almost 8 o'clock. And she's like, yeah, this is technically past my bedtime too. So, yeah. So she's actually going to stay up a little bit just to make sure that, she gives us an awesome chart school. So with that being said, guys, I need you guys to do me a big favor. I need you literally to make sure that whatever you do, try to make sure that you guys can attend that session on Thursday night. Like I said, she's doing us a huge favor. She is absolutely unreal. She is very much also an if this, then that trader in her setups. And you may only get 1 or 2 good setups, but it's literally going to be if price hits here, go long, go short. This is your risk. Take it. If it doesn't, scratch it. And for a while, she was batting like 87, 88% on her filled trades. So, I mean, she was just absolutely crushing it, and she's even more experienced now. So, really, just like I said, I'm very thankful that she's doing it for us. Do everything in your power to make sure you guys can catch us one live. I told her that you guys are a great group of people that, again, any questions that, they should be able to, or they handle it themselves or just, again, kind of have a good time with it. But I told them that you guys would be nice, that you don't bite. So definitely make sure that, if you guys can hype it up in the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Like I said, I'd love to have a good group out for her. If she has a good time doing it, she'll definitely, want to come out more. And her, like as I said, there are many traders that I'm friends with and I talk to, but she's one that I respect very much. She went from working like a 70, 80-hour job to becoming a full-time trader. And it was kind of funny. Like, I basically had to give her a little bit of pressure because I knew how well she'd do at this back in the day, and got her enrolled in education. And it's funny, she'll never tell you this, but she was dating a guy at the time, and she'll probably kill me if I tell everybody this, but I'm going to tell her anyway because she's not on tonight. She used to tell him, he was like very big into video games, and she would make dinner and stuff like that, and he'd be playing video games, and he'd be like, "Oh, you want me to get off?" He'd be like, "No, go ahead, you keep playing your video games." And then she would spend an hour, studying charts. you know? So it was funny. I was like, man, he should have known right away when you told him that he can go play more video games. But literally, I mean, she, had a very well, high-paying job, but working, 70 hours a week, even more than that. And she was just tired of the rat race. And literally, that's all she does now. But really, just an absolutely amazing person. Extremely thankful that she's going to be on here on Thursday night covering for me. And you guys will love her. Hopefully, we can get her out more often if she has a good time. So, yeah, Ernest, you will pick up all kinds of stuff. Make sure you have a notepad ready. Like I said, um, she's more of the overnight, longer swing trader, where I'm definitely more of the short time piece. I tried to get her into trading Nadex, but she just didn't necessarily have time. She was still picking up. She's been to a couple different schools, picking up she's been at sit downs at T3, and obviously was an OTA person. That's where I met her. Definitely well advanced in many systems. Knows, I mean, she is literally multiple time conversation with many market makers as well. So I mean, she's definitely a lot of amazing knowledge. You guys can pick her brain on Thursday. All right. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully we can get her back more than one time. All right, so looking at the day today, you can see the big mover was obviously the pound. Why is that? Why was the pound the big mover? Well, because there's so much drama over there, right? Talking about everything that's going on, talking about, can we force him to do this? Can we not force him to do this? Is Ireland going to be the problem? Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I wanted to have her out for a long time. Like, I'd really love to, have her, come in here and help support the group. So, like I said, get everybody out there, hype it up, and, have her, if she has a great time on Thursday, and again, she used to love doing presentations online and has stopped for a bit. So if this could be a fun new home for her, it would be absolutely incredible to have her out doing this kind of stuff with us. All right. Dang, Brexit gave me 4-1. That's it. You're like, I only got 4-1. I mean, come on. Yeah. So that's why you're seeing so much movement in the pound, right? Now, the pound yen still didn't hit its daily ATR. The pound dollar probably right about there, but you'll see everything else is more or less flat today. And again, you can kind of see, again, we're big down, and then you guys can see up here. So there was obviously some retracements that were occurring today. Like I said, the last 2 days it's kind of been all eyes have been focusing on Powell, though. I think Powell basically got overshadowed today. Just basically because of everything that's going on with the Chinese talks, right? I mean, you're hearing all kinds of things about, Chinese information, Chinese data. There's a lot of stuff going on. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, courts over there are going against Brexit, and that's going to be bad. And then we can't figure anything out with China. But again, I'm going to go back to the same thing again. I really don't believe that the China situation is as bad as everybody makes it seem. Honestly, I feel that both sides of this kind of equation are really just playing their bases. I think in the end, the U.S. people will, think that, we did a great thing and we won. And I'm pretty sure China will believe that they won. And then there was even news today. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but Blizzard, the video game company, banned somebody for saying they supported the Hong Kong protests. And immediately, senators jumped on this company saying it's absolutely ridiculous that a company is going to bow down to China, that we need to stand up for ourselves. So it's pretty interesting that people are really getting empowered and really talking about it right now. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little interesting. The Houston Rockets GM. What about the Houston Rockets GM? Does he not like China too? I don't know anything about Houston Rockets, just FYI. Isn't that Mark? Is he on the Rockets? I don't know if it's him or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's had problems with. But everybody has a China with, Yeah, and he's the one that tweeted. Well, he tweeted, but yeah, this was actually a senator. I forget. I think from like Ohio or something like that. Gotta ask Carl about that one. But yeah, he actually made the comment today about it. He was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And again, it's what happens again and again. Companies are, they're basically giving in to Chinese pressure because the way that they play over there, it's like, oh, you don't like us? Fine, you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to do anything on our market. So they're not really a fair player. And again, that's what this whole kind of disagreement started from in the first place. And love us or hate us, nobody else in the entire world has the power to be able to stand up to them and fight them on this level. And, my word of warning, which they don't listen to me whatsoever, is going to be this, right? They can mess with us as much as they want and try to, basically pull one over on everybody else in the entire world. But if they keep doing it, the same thing will happen in China that happened to OPEC. Okay. The same exact thing. And, they'll just they'll lose power. They'll basically stifle themselves by trying to, stick one to everybody else and, play this third world status when it's not really, that's not really the case. So, all right. So going into tomorrow, all right. Again, you see today the PPI numbers were off. Now, this is also very important. Okay, not necessarily maybe the biggest, per se market mover with this one, but absolutely huge implications with PPI. And here's why. Okay, if you don't see inflation, and again, if you don't know what PPI is, you're like, huh, what? It's basically, look, the change in price of finished goods and services sold by producers. Okay, if those prices are going down, meaning we're not seeing inflation inside of those things, that's a big telltale sign. It's like, one of the worries about low interest rates is inflation and inflation getting out of control. And when it starts to get out of control, that's why they raise interest rates, is to put a curb on inflation. Now, we're already talking about lowering, basically lowering the interest rates at least one time, right? And maybe potentially two. All of a sudden, you're seeing unemployment data that looks great. You're like, maybe the economy is not as bad as what we've seen. Then, all the numbers look good. Maybe this is just all made up. But then you see inflation, and the big thing is like, well, listen, we don't want inflation to get out of control. Now we're seeing inflation go in the opposite direction. It's kind of like, that's interesting. Again, the perception is out there about that, which means, hey, this kind of clears the way for not one, but potentially that second one this year. Okay, that could be huge. That could have, enormous implications in the currency realm. So again, that could be pretty fun, right? Pretty excited about that. Going into tomorrow, all right. So going into tomorrow again, we have the Eurogroup meetings, which we'll see. Again, there's going to be barbs sent back and forth between, particularly Merkel and Johnson. They obviously don't like each other, so I believe there will be, there'll be something going back and forth. Crude oil at 10:30, as I mentioned yesterday, crude oil I think is going to be an interesting story. Again, when the Georgia strike happened and production went down magically, we end up with even more of a surplus, and that surplus has been building week over week after week. I don't know what to think about that one. I do know that it was 60 degrees out today, that some people are like, this is kind of a nice fall weather. Not necessarily a bad thing. I'm all over it. I'm enjoying the fall weather. I'm not opposed to jeans and, a long sleeve shirt or shorts and a long sleeve shirt and a hoodie. I'm cool with those things. I want to see if we can keep building on this, and I'll actually cover oil a little bit today. I mentioned yesterday that we were in a demand zone, and we had a little tiny bit of a pop today. Not huge, but again, interesting to see where it's kind of holding and stabilizing itself. All right. Again, big thing is going to be obviously Powell speaking, but then the FOMC meeting notes. Okay. Now, as the Fed has mentioned, they don't want surprises. They don't want people playing the guessing game. They're trying to limit the amount of kind of market exposure, market change. Okay. So we'll see, what the actual implications are. But what I feel is going to happen is, I feel like if he doesn't really kind of give anything away at the 11 o'clock, literally the markets may be on hold tomorrow until 2 p.m. I feel like it could be a potentially slow. And again, it's not like the last two have been, not really. You guys can look. Look on some of the charts. I can't see the charts right now, but you can tell there's not, has it been, it was what, down 300 points today? And again, a lot of that has to do with just the Chinese thing. There's no real economic factor for it. There was no real reason for it. Monday, it basically went to one area and retraced. So things could have been much, much worse with what was going on. And I think a lot of it's going to have to do with these meeting notes. I think tomorrow, all focus. I don't think it matters unless basically the Chinese delegation gets back on a plane and goes home, which I don't think I missed that. But unless they get on a plane and go back home, yeah, you suppose there's visa bans on Chinese linked division. So, we're going to purchase T-bills, but it won't be QE. Conversations between delegates and signals. See, they're trying. Like I said, that's why I don't believe. Like they're like, oh, it could be bad. It's definitely bad. So, like I said, I don't necessarily believe it's as bad as I think the news is really enjoying it and everybody else is enjoying it. And there's definitely people taking advantage of it. So I think tomorrow will be a big kind of, telltale sign. Now, it doesn't mean we can't make trades until then. Definitely, without a doubt, be cautious going into that 2 p.m. window. You could be on the wrong side of a position. If something comes out and it's, not necessarily what the market had planned for, there can be some major movement. And that's a time where you're going to have gaps and you don't want to be stuck on the wrong side of those things. All right. Even your Nadex positions. If you're positive, take them out. If it's in a good spot for you. All right. Now, looking at the scanner. All right. If you guys look over here, a lot more of these kind of sideways and kind of kind of common things that we see. Okay, looking at this second window right here. Let's bring this over here. I'll bring this down. Okay, you guys can see in this middle section right here, right? Talking about this is the European basket. Seeing a lot of things that are sideways with up potential. Euro pound, I just switched on us, but Euro pound is sideways up confirmed. Basically meaning if we see some type of a pullback today, right, that'll be giving us the uptrend setup signal. All right, so again, just make sure you're looking out for that one. And again, after seeing what we saw today, again, obviously this pair is up. The pound is down on two different pairs with pound weakness. So obviously this one is driving forward. Again, any bit of a retest or retracement back again, that's where we're looking to kind of get long on this one. Looking over at the pound, again, this is the opposite side of that coin. We have a downtrend set up in the pound Swiss, the pound yen, and the pound dollar. Again, not necessarily surprised in any of those positions. What it means right now is it's pulling back from those lows. It's looking for more orders. Okay. We'll look at that inside of the charts. Looking across at the Aussie basket, that's the second one from the right. If you guys see this one, again, a lot of kind of sideways, kind of up. And again, it's problem with a lot of these pairs, and again, I'll show it to you in 1 second, like especially the Aussie yen, it's kind of butting right up into that supply zone, and it's already hit it a few times, but it keeps getting forced back down again. So that's why we're kind of getting that kind of sideways movement. We are still getting kind of higher lows, but it's kind of not really. So we really are starting to move sideways. And again, when you start looking at the Aussie New Zealand, though, that's where we get the sideways down confirmed. So a little bit different there. Now, jumping across lastly to the Canadian basket, again with oil tomorrow. There's New Zealand CAD in here. I don't trade New Zealand CAD. The spread's too wide and it gets a little bit funky, so we don't watch that one. We do have CAD Swiss up there. We can pull that up and look at it real quick just because it's showing us a setup. But for the most part, everything's sideways. And again, New Zealand CAD is not really my favorite one. Again, those are the different baskets. Now, going to the majors, which when you say the majors, that's basically the US dollar basket. All right, over here we can see we're sideways with an uptrend with the Aussie. We talked about that. New Zealand's in a position where, again, we were driving forward and it's kind of, we're not quite at a pullback. It's kind of moving forward. We need a little bit of a drop tonight in that one, and that'll give us the uptrend setup situation. Sideways up in both the yen and the euro dollar. Okay, not a surprise in those. If you look at the euro dollar up top here, you guys can see euro dollar is down 12. So not really doing a whole lot, even though it was, in 24 hours, it's 0.11, right? So it's not really too much, right? Now, dollar Swiss and pound dollar are both giving us downtrend setups, so we'll make sure that we focus on those two. Basically meaning that right now they will be green candles in a downtrend, so we'll see what we can find on those. Just a bit of caution on that one. If you guys saw it just a second ago, you can see that it was an uptrend and it was broken now, which obviously, and again, this was a downtrend setup. So this is sideways down, and this is now turned from being up sideways to basically an anchor break. So it's showing me that it's starting to break to the downside. It was at the bottom of the anchor. So we'll check that one out as well. And then again, dollar Swiss is still a downtrend setup, so we will make sure to follow over there. A couple other small interesting things in here. Again, I think that the biggest things is going to be this one right here, New Zealand. You're going to look at this euro pound is going to be important. Pound Aussie is something we also have in the charts, and you guys can see across the board, both on daily, 4-hour, and 1-hour, sideways down confirmed. Okay, meaning that we get any type of a pullback in the next candle, that's going to start giving us a signal that we are in a downtrend setup. So something potentially could be popping in over here. All right, just like we have this. Okay, this Aussie New Zealand one. All right, so with that being said, let's dive over into charts. Okay. All right, so here we are with pound yen. Okay, and again, I just talked about this one. So just again, let me pull the scanner here just so I can see it. All right, so scanner on this one, obviously in the Aussie basket, is going to be sideways, kind of upward biased. And you could say that, right? I mean, right now, yes, is the green outside of it? It is. Okay, is it sideways? Yes, it's sideways. Is the scanner 100% correct right now? No, and that's because we had a bit of a gap. Okay, so it's a little bit off in the position. And again, remember, different platforms will have slightly different setups on it. But we're basically sideways, and when we break this down from a daily into a 4-hour, again, the scanner is showing you sideways up confirmed, right? Now, again, here, okay, you got to be careful, right? What do we have? Okay, it's up because when we use the anchor and go across, it runs into a candle right here. So that's why it's giving us an uptrend, but it's basically sideways, right? Price did come up. Price did touch this area. Okay, now again, this purple area came from the wick over wick on the daily. Okay, we got our white space under it. We continued to push lower. We really based for a long time. We went back up, touched it, and again, kind of went down. But again, what was this? About 2 p.m. yesterday, or actually 2 p.m. today, you can see what did we do? We entered right back up into that same area, and then price came, collapsing back down again, right? To where we are right now, right? So 2 o'clock this morning is when this triggered. Now, what I did was I refined this area smaller. You guys can see the descending candles here on the 4 hour. That's a big deal, right? But when you break it down, you go down over here. What you can see is, where did price bounce last time? It went right off the bottom of this zone, right? Here was that white space that we created. Well, right before that little white space area, we had a nice little pullback here, right? Price came down, it kind of based a little bit, popped up, and then we had 5 candles to the downside. So what I did is I drew the risk off of that zone. And you're talking about 11 pip risk, right? Now, price came across, it came across, and again, that same risk, right? That same risk is this level here, right? When I moved it across, it resizes, so it's the same red, right? That same 11 pip risk. There's where we had the movement today. Okay. Now, could have taken this in 2 different positions. Okay, just FYI. You could have taken it down to here, which would have given you a 11 for 33, right? Or you could have taken it down to this zone. Again, there's your target at the bottom, which is down at 52. And again, that's the last time we really saw this big push going a bit higher, right? And that came in basically down, kind of down at this level, right here, right? If I was to draw right there, you guys can see that's where it pops up. Okay, that was the start of this last, large push from this basing zone, right? So that's where that other target come from. It wasn't just a line that I drew down here. It was actually a line that I drew from here on the 4 hour, basing it off of right there, and then bam. And then I just refined it slightly to make it a little bit higher. Okay, so that's where your second profit target was. So not bad risk, 11 for 31 or 11 for 52. Either one is really good. Again, that was something you should have got into early this morning, all right? And again, you were basically getting out of this trade at 7 o'clock this morning, done for the day with 50 pips. All right. Again, for those of you that are not familiar with it, that's $9.34 per standard. Okay. Here, and I'll do this for you guys just to make it easy. Again, what does that look like in trader land? Okay. $9.34 times 52 pips. That's $485 at 7 a.m. this morning, based off of an overnight trade with 11 pips risk. Okay. Now, again, do the same thing, right? 11 pip risk times the same $9.34, $102 risk. So you woke up, you lost $100, but we made 500. Okay, again, that's nice little setup on this one if you guys were able to catch it. Invested heavily in cannabis stocks 1 month ago, really regretting it. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the flavor of the month for a while. But honestly, if you're looking for a longer term play in that one, that may not be bad, Savage Medic. Like I said, depends on which one you bought, I guess. Maybe I should say that. It depends on which one you bought. All right, moving across over to Aussie New Zealand. So Aussie New Zealand, this is giving us the sideways movement, right? And again, looking at it here, what is it? Yes, the green is engulfed. It is red. It is confirmed it is lower. So what happens is, anytime that this thing, the next color that this is going to change, it's so that it can continue being red, right? And again, what can it do? I mean, it is running into an area of demand, right? It may continue, and if it keeps going red, we're still waiting for that green candle. The moment we have a green candle, the scanner is going to turn a downtrend setup. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start looking for positions above where we could potentially get short this position. Now, it is sitting in an area right here, and again, I'll draw this for you guys real fast, okay? It is sitting in a bit of a zone right here, so that does have me where it's slightly about taking this short right now, but looking at good levels above, we had this kind of, this was the gap. This was kind of the spike back and forth. It's kind of like, I like that level. A little bit of distance it's got to run. If it's got to give for something a little bit smaller, we do now have this zone that we've put in. Okay, now I'd like this zone better than this one. Again, this is kind of 2 mirror candles. That scares me just a little bit. If we get any type of pullback, very, very small bit of risk. But again, the one thing that I'm going to urge caution with this pair if you're going to trade it, while the risk is tiny, it's only about 8. Okay, you only have, about 47 to go in the other direction. Okay, so we got to see what happens in here. If we get if this turns and just starts to go right back up again, that's going to show us that this target range is really going to start to get moved up. Okay, so we're kind of at a strange place. I do like the setup. What I'm really hoping for right now is I'm hoping that we get something like this. I'm hoping that we get a red candle that kind of comes through, comes in there, right? If we can turn this into a red candle and get a day like that, I'm definitely interested in what type of basing levels we have over here on the 4 hour, because that would clear this zone. Again, if we can get a break of this zone and then a pullback into it over on this time frame, Man, then we have the downtrend setup with a momentum breakout. That's two, man. That's just golden, right? And that's like the golden setup there if you're able to get that. All right. But we'll see if we're able to get that. And again, cross pair, no dollar is involved in this one. So again, this may not be your cup of tea, but it is setting up into an interesting position. Okay. Looking at Aussie dollar. Now, Aussie dollar is also giving us, this is kind of a sideways upward bias. And why? Because again, when you go back, it's hitting candles very, very fast. It takes a long time for it to go back here. This is an area we marked off. Remember that hidden wick over wick we talked about? Well, guess what? It came down. Okay, it hit that wick over wick at 11 o'clock today. And what has it done since that time? But guess not much, right? It just literally rode. And again, that was the wick over wick on the 4-hour. And again, when you refine it down on the 30-minute, you guys can see that was kind of a pop point, right? Okay, a little bit of basing, a little bit of a pop. It's respected. It's come down here again, came back up again. And what did it do today? It went down, and from 11:30 this morning, it basically sat there. And we're getting a little bit of a pop now, okay, just a tiny bit, but really not too much, right? Again, this could be the pullback that we need for another kind of drive higher, all right? One thing for me that stands out on this one is you can say, well, why didn't you go long on this one? If this is going in an uptrend, it's like, yeah, but what could it run into, right? I mean, I love when candles are like this. What could it run into? Well, I mean, we have the single wick right here, and that's kind of where it's stuck now. Then we have right above it, we have another wick, and that's also where it pulled back. So there's definitely some buyers, or I'm sorry, definitely some sellers sitting above where this price is right now. Kind of makes me want to say, hey, is this the best opportunity that exists tonight? Or am I forcing this? Am I trying to take this in every different, too many different directions? And is it not necessarily an easy setup? And again, is this just the pullback and it continue to push lower? I mean, obviously these lows from last, Tuesday and Wednesday, they were in the near term, definitely the extremes of the lows. Okay, so if this is pulling back for more orders to make another push down, what's really my trend? I mean, I'm getting lower lows. Okay, I don't know where this low is because it hasn't turned yet. Definitely getting lower highs. I've had one break of it, but it's kind of in no man's land. Okay, is it going to continue breaking or is it not? I mean, looking at the 4-hour, what do we have? High, high, high. We basically have a trend line drawn here. You can see the bottoms again, lower bottoms. Okay, it's not quite as advanced as this one is, or as the angle of it, right? But it's still moving down. It's it's definitely in a downtrend, right? I mean, we're definitely shooting this way, and you're shooting this way. Okay, so we'll see where it goes right now. Okay, so a couple things have me just a little bit concerned about that one. I don't know if it's the best opportunity that's out there, especially on the shorter term to be able to take this long. But again, what's going on right here as well, you can see we have a downtrend set up on the 4-hour, right? Green, this comes across, it hits here. This comes across, it hits here. Downtrend, green, downtrend setup, looking for buy orders, or I'm looking for sell orders. But at the same time, downtrend setup, do you want to be selling into an area of buyers? We've proven this is an area of buyers. The answer is no. So you see where this kind of goes. Can you explain the wick real fast, please? I see the solid candle. Not sure what the wick means. I'm very new. Yeah, Savage, don't worry about it. So one of the things that kind of makes us in this mentality a little bit different, being price action traders versus indicator-based traders, is we focus on candle formation, okay? All these candles basically are formed with, it's two things. There's a body and there's a wick. So like this red candle right here, if you guys can see it, this candle, meaning when this time frame started, when this 4-hour window started, it opened here, it closed here. I know that because it's considered red, not green. And it went as low as this point at some point, and it went as high as this point. But then what happened is when that 4 hours is over and this candle started, right here is where it opened, and here it closed. Why? Because it's green. If this was red, I would have known the price gapped up. It would have kind of looked weird, but that's what happens. The color is dependent upon where it opened or where it closed in regards to where it opened. Now, the wicks, or people call them a bunch of different things. That's just a single line. It's not the dark color. It's just this, because obviously these are called candlestick charts, so they're called wicks, right? I mean, sometimes people call them tails, some people call them shadows. There's different names for them, but it basically means the price moved back and forth. So in our analysis, we are using the wick formations, and we're looking at the way that the wicks were formed. So what I said for this area is this is called a wick over wick. Okay, a wick over wick on a lower time frame is typically an area of basing where price shot into the area, it based, and then shot again. And what that does is it shows us that there was some battling, some fights going on between buyers and sellers. And then all of a sudden, an imbalance occurred. And when the imbalance occurred, that's where we're looking to find those orders, because it's kind of a telltale sign that there were probably some still orders there, because at the end of the day, if you have 10 people trying to sell, but you have 20 people buying, right? Eventually, those sellers disappear and there's more buyers than sellers. What happens? The price rises. Okay. That's the easiest way to think about it. Okay. So, what we're doing is we're looking for areas where there are still people willing to buy it. There's just nobody willing to sell it to them. Okay. So, that's what those kind of the wick over wick zones are for. All right. Yeah, so what this is, just because again, if you're not used to my charts, I'll explain it to you real quick. This upper left-hand corner, this is a daily chart, meaning every one of these candles is the price movement for one day. The one in the top right, these are 4-hour candles. So each one of these candles is a 4-hour block of time, and it shows us where price is. Okay. This lower chart down here, this is 30 minutes. So each one of these is a 30-minute window of time. Okay. That should help a little bit. If anybody else in here says anything, I'm taking your pip chips away. But again, so what we're doing is we butted on this one. So yes, even though we are a downtrend setup, we are going into an area of buyers designated by this gray area, not necessarily the best trade setup. Now, pound Aussie, when we looked at the pound window, again, you guys can see this one was in an anchor break. And what did it do? Well, pretty simply, again, it started, it went below, right? The anchor was down here and it dropped below that one. Okay, it started to push down. Again, it was pulling back. This one is a little bit off too because, again, the different brokerage firms, but you guys can see definitely in an anchor. This is technically speaking, the gap is messing this one up, right? Because we closed here and then we opened lower. Okay. Had we opened at the exact same spot, it would be sideways down confirmed. So just again, make sure that you know how to, be able to read that. Now, this one's similar situation to where price is driven down and it's now pulling back. Again, we drew this zone in the purple dots right here. It's this pullback, right? We saw it hit here. We saw it hit here. We saw it hit here. And lucky number 4 actually broke through the bottom, right? Went all the way through. Didn't have enough to go much past that. It may be exhausted. Again, like we said, we typically like when this goes down and forms some white space. It ended up pulling back and it's grabbing orders sitting at this base level, right? It needed some more orders. So what is it doing? It's grabbing more orders here and it's starting to make its push back down again. So a couple different ways you could play this. Again, this isn't the strongest pullback, but you can see on the 4-hour, this was obviously a downtrend, right? Downtrend confirmed. As this pulled back, we were in a downtrend setup. So it did technically come, it did technically trigger, it did technically push down again. It is something that you could be taking, is in somewhat of an overnight short. The risk level in this one, again, this is the pair that always gets a little bit funky, right? You're talking about 25 pip risk. Just to go back down to the low on this one brings you down to 54. So it's already a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio trade had you were able to catch it. Now, I know a lot of us focus on daily and 4-hour, but again, this is a 4-hour and 30-minute setup. You can see during this green, right? Before this red candle happened, the green would be the action candles, right? We ignore those. We look at the anchor. Is the anchor engulfed by the prior candle? Absolutely not. Look to the left. What do? We hit another candle here versus hitting it way back over here. Downtrend with green means downtrend setup. Came back up, pulled into a zone short, and currently right now, here, I'll stretch it to where what it actually should look like. That's kind of what you're looking like right now, right? And in this position, currently, right now, you'd be up about 25 pips. You're at a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. Okay, but just the break here is already bringing you down. And again, the next big kind of zone we'd be worried about is probably, it's a bit of an area there, probably back down into here somewhere. But like I said, I think this black line would probably be a good target, 180.62. No, Nadex will not go commission free. Excellent, I follow that. Cool. And why is because they're an exchange, right? That's how they make their money. They don't trade against you, so it's not like Nadex is the market maker. And if they didn't charge a commission, how would Nadex make any money whatsoever? So they're $1 per contract. That's how Nadex as an exchange. Remember, Nadex is an exchange, not a brokerage firm. Difference between the two. Nadex is similar. People treat Nadex like it's a brokerage firm, but it's no different than like the NYSE and the CME. And you think the CME is just suddenly going to stop charging people data fees? No, it's the same thing. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, that's where we are with this one. So euro pound. Okay, looking at the euro basket again. Before we talked about this one, we mentioned that euro pound was obviously uptrend confirmed, right? And it was, right? It still is. Okay, it's passed. Obviously, this was engulfed. Looking across, we are confirmed. Sideways up confirmed. If this thing suddenly, tomorrow turns red, it's going to give us what? Uptrend setup. Well, that's kind of what we see over here. Price push forward, uptrend setup. It went back to grab some orders. Now, again, this little area here had already been kind of breached. It was a little bit too close. We had another level sitting right here. Well, what did it just happen to bounce off of? Right? Okay. So this one kind of gave us a little bit of a setup, and it's already kind of moved away a little bit. Now, is it huge? No, it's not huge. And also with this one, I would be a little bit careful. This is quite a large push up. We are technically on the daily inside of a selling zone. And dialing back, you guys can see just getting, pulling it out on the 4 hour, you can see where price rallied up to, right up into here, is in a single wick against the wall. So technically, if you're using this as the established area, it went into a selling zone. So yeah, on a lower time frame, could you grab a little bit out of this one? Sure, a little bit, but it goes back to the same thing. Do you want to be buying when we're approaching major areas of supply where people are selling? And the answer is probably not. Okay, so just be cautious. Again, if those things didn't exist, if we weren't up near these large levels that were clean, then yeah, I'd be like, hey, yep, this is still pushing. Grab back, grab more orders, push higher. But again, is this retrace the attempt to grab some more orders to force itself back down again? Because again, this is 8 hours of pretty much straight up. Is this part of the parabolic retracement back to the downside? Okay, that's a question you need to ask yourself. Now, with a big push like this, again, we're getting up to areas where we are definitely looking to short. Like I said, I marked off this dotted line as an easy one, the 90.17, 90.15. It did come up, and you guys can see it did, and I'll show you right here. It's high. It did get right to, I guess, did it? Let's see. Well, let me do, can't tell with this one, but it's literally right up to 90. Okay, 90 was a psychological level in this one, and it literally turned and bounced around from 90. So, not necessarily surprised 90 is a big area, right? A lot of zeros, draws the mind to it every single time. We'll see what it's able to do now. Like I said, I don't think all the weakness in this one has basically been like, oh yeah, the pound doesn't know, they're not going to get it through. Who knows what's going to happen? But as soon as we get some type of certainty about what is going to happen, I don't believe that there's any reason that the pound needs to stay this week. There's just nothing there. Nothing is, like I said, when people are confused, people beat things up. Okay, as soon as there's no more confusion, I think the story on this one changes. That's just, again, that's my opinion, but that's been the biggest problem for a long time. It's just nobody really knows what's going to happen. Is it going to be a hard exit? Is it going to be a soft exit? What's it going to do to the economy? What's it going to change? Again, the market doesn't wait to hear what happens. The market tries to position itself ahead of time, in advance. All right. It's probably already preparing for this ever since Boris said that, hey, listen, we're ready for a hard exit. We don't care. We'll survive. And they will. They'll be fine. If they got to devalue their currency a little bit, so be it. They'll get better at exports. There'll be something they can do with it. Not the end of the world. That's what countries do. They lower their, the currency rates, and, they adapt to it. So, they can change. Yeah, they're large, they have an economy. They have some money over there. Again, they also have exposure to oil, so not the end of the world. But I think as soon as we get that certainty, then we'll be better off. Do you want to take a? I don't have stocks up on this one, Savage. So you're more than welcome to join Discord, and if you want to shoot it to me in a message on Discord, I could definitely look at it. But I won't be able to look at it here because I don't have access to it in this platform. Okay. All right, jumping across to Euro Yen. Yeah, basically, Savage, what I can look at here is I can look at, I'll look at currencies in this platform, and then I can shoot across over here, and I'll look at oil and do kind of like a brief oil. I can basically do, I can more or less do anything here. I can look at any of the commodities for you guys. I can look at any of the indices. I'm not going to look at crypto because that just makes me laugh. The fact that we're down here right now just is even more funny for people. But yeah, so I can look at any of these things if you really want me to. I'll typically, I'll jump in here sometimes and look. Dollar's important, but tomorrow, again, we'll look at oil over here a bit later. And again, it popped. It was at 51. It was at 51 yesterday, so we're gonna look at that one. All right, so you guys can see on this one, we had a bit of a nice little pullback, right? And same thing, about 2 o'clock this morning, we came all the way back up. We dinged a level. You guys can see over here. We were looking at this one and waiting for this one for a little bit. We had marked this zone off. We knew that we had some single areas. Most of this, though, is based off the lower time frames. Price rallied, 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 rallied. And when you're looking through here, what was really clean? Nothing until we really got to this zone. Okay. And again, if you're looking at these two, yes, this is a level on top of a level, but it's not really adding too much risk. And the bottom level had already been hit. So if I drug this down to here, you guys can see it already hit one time, right? And would that have been a bad trade to take? No, you could have taken it. I mean, there was almost a 3-to-1 there before it came up, and then it collapsed all the way back down to the start of the move. But all I did was I just took the, I ended up taking the full body behind, and it kind of cuts this level in half. And it lowers the risk, right? It lowers your risk down to 10 pips. Do I have any problems with 10 pips? No, right? Absolutely not. Now, moving this one down to your first kind of level right here, you're sitting at about 2.5, right? About 27. The start of the move, and again, not a bad little area, right? That brings us down to 68. Okay, now I'm going to do it up here just so you guys don't think I'm cheating. Here is the start of kind of the last big pop. Okay, and it's right there where this red area is. Okay, it's not all the way to the bottom. Again, it's harder to see on the 4-hour. But even if we get a little bit more conservative, right, and just take it off of that line, which would also, again, bring us right here. Okay, you're talking about 55 pips. So 10 for 55, not a bad, 1 to 5.5, right? Not a bad risk to reward ratio trade. And same thing, it was done off of the first real clean level at the top of the range. Now, could you say, hey, Bryan, there's wicks in here. Could I grab those? Yeah, but it's always better. Grab the clean, easy ones, right? Why go for what's difficult? Okay, too many people focus on the hard and it's like, well, I could grab this one and I could grab this one and I could grab this one. Yeah, but make it easy on yourself, right? I mean, looking at these two zones here, yeah, guys, this is easy. Came up, pushed back down, retested, and then dropped, right? I mean, literally, you should be looking at, there's one, right? And then the second one you could potentially use is this, right? There. I'll even change this to a different color so you guys can see it. We'll change it to blue. Okay, so there are your two zones, right? And when I say, is it easy to see? Sure it is. Finding a level in here is junk, right? Finding a level in here, oh, I could do this and this. Is this easy? Yes. Okay. So again, level on level, take the top one. And again, I could have actually, if you didn't want to take the whole thing, if you really want to get some conservative, you can say, okay, well, there's the piece. That's what it came up and retested. Fine, I'll take that. It's whatever. Not concerned. It's actually, let's see, still 8. Okay. Again, you can move this forward if you really, really want. You guys get the idea. Okay. Look for easy, look for simple, look for things at the top and the bottom of the range. Okay, and again, that zone, what does it do? It comes up here, right? If we were basing in a channel, here's the bottom of the channel. Here's closer to the top of the channel. We just had a quick rally. Like, it took a long time. Junky candles, lots of wicks. Boom, boom, boom. Hit a zone and straight back down again to the start of the move. Okay, so another 5-to-1 risk to reward ratio trade. Now, interesting thing about this one, again, looking at this one on the daily, right? We had a big pop up, and it flipped and we had a big drop back down again. So we are still kind of at the same level around 117.40. Kind of a funky area because we spent a lot of time down here. We've talked about this trade for a lot of days, right? We've talked about, here's this kind of purple area. It's been sucked in this purple area. It's never left, and we've been waiting for some type of momentum breakout. Something that gets us below. Here, I'll put a black line so we can kind of extend it across because I don't want to move it. Okay. Something below this level. But have we left this level? Have we gotten any type of white space? Can we draw triangles anywhere under here? No. So we have not actually been set up for any type of, breakout to the downside. There's been just no momentum breakout of this one. So, still kind of waiting for that same trade. But in the meantime, what did we do? We were able to take a short position when it came all the way up. Again, large rally up, clean level at the top, boom, straight back down again. Okay. All right. Now, again, this is, for a lot of you, this is kind of a position you set up overnight, Okay. Now, euro dollar. Now, euro dollar, it's basically flat on the day. I mean, what are we at right now? Minus 11. And you guys can see, this is a risk that I talked about before. I said we were inside of that zone. Be cautious with it. What are we going to do? Is it going to break through? Is it not? And all it did was kind of suck itself right into there. So, I mean, 3 days of sideways, it went down. We're down 11 pips in the last 24 hours. I mean, again, could you have taken it off of here? Sure. I mean, that happened at 6:30 this morning. Price had rallied back up again, hit this zone, and then again pushed away. It's worth. I mean, if you took it back to the start, you're talking about 25. At max, it was about 45 that you could have grabbed out of this one. You would have probably gotten stopped out on this candle right here. That's the first time you had a green, and then 2 levels got broken. So you could have taken this down and ran to probably there is where you would have got stopped out. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, is that level worth it? I mean, risking 13 to make 36, yeah, you're kind of just under 3 to 1. Wasn't a trade that I took. Would you been able to take that one at 630? Sure. But again, selling into an area on daily supply or daily demand, I'm sorry, just not, again, selling into demand zones, typically a bad idea. Okay, so at this point, I'm whether waiting for a breakdown below or run right back up into that zone. That zone's at 109.91. Reason why I'm waiting for a run back up into that zone is because this is pushed so far down and actually breached the bottom of it. I'm not really as worried about the zone holding a second time. And actually, it's actually, again, we've tagged the top of it a lot. We've pushed down once here and then pushed even deeper here. So the next time it comes back into this zone, you guys can see, here's the original level of basing. You have this. There's not really a whole lot left to be able to say that, hey, listen, this is going to hold again. I'm gonna buy here. I think it's more in a position right now where it's probably ready to start collapsing. But I'm gonna wait for it to pull up a bit. All right. Looking at Euro Aussie. I'm getting audio, no video anymore. Anything else? Of course, that's how the stream runs. Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't think there's anything. All right. Another area we marked off, right? We had this basing level in the daily. What did we do? We had price pull back up, retrace back down again, and then price, it basically pulled up again. So really not as much movement on the Euro Aussie as we had hoped. Again, still bearish in this position. Okay, not a Nadex pair, so you're not going to be able to take advantage of it over there. Again, spent a lot of time in that area, really kind of grinded its way down and didn't have a horrible kind of way up. But I mean, looking at this on the 4 hour, I mean, how much really, I mean, highs are getting slightly higher, lows are kind of going a bit lower, and you're kind of seeing, I mean, for 2 days they're basically in, little tiny dojis. So really not much. But again, like I said, I'm definitely bearish this position still. We are still sitting in this area. It's showing some, pretty nice resilience of being able to push orders back down from this kind of wick area. So, there's probably something in there. Is it simple? I mean, look, it's spent a lot of time just grinding back and forth. I don't necessarily love this pair. I do think with the European meeting notes tomorrow, I think this will give us some action. But for the most part, I don't think there's going to be a ton there. All right. We need fashion like Australian rate cuts or something to be able to budge this pair right now. This one's just getting ugly. Now, one thing too, I will add that I didn't mention earlier, and I mentioned it this morning. So it was interesting this morning. You saw pound weakness, right, in everything, including the euro pound. But then you saw euro weakness at the same time. Okay. The euro not understanding fully what's going on either is also hurting the euro and having all the decision over there. So it's not just a pound problem. Like, people are like, oh, well, the euro must be strong then because the pound's bad. The euro has its own economy and they're slowing and they're having the same problems. And, losing a member and losing access to the UK also hurts them too. It's not like it's a good thing that's going to make them stronger. It's not like losing like Portugal, Italy, Greece, or Spain, right? I mean, losing the UK is again, they don't use the euro, but it's still kind of, it's still going to hurt them a bit, right? And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't think about that, okay? So just keep that in mind, okay? Anything that pushes us down is euro weakness, okay? So any news about Brexit or anything has the same potential to push us to the downside. Now, switching across to pound yen. Bam. What happened there? Well, obviously we know what happened. This is all the Brexit news. But what did it do? It kind of pulled back into an interesting area, right? Came back down again. We saw it. And what did we get? We got a failure to go higher inside of a supply zone. Okay. Now, could you have timed this at 2:30 in the morning? Maybe, maybe not. You can see it didn't do anything last night. It was just stop, 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 stop. So it was not a fast exit, but this goes to the whole thing that news doesn't necessarily matter, right? I mean, it was just grinding. Why is it that at 11 o'clock or even 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, why did it do nothing? And then all of a sudden at 2:30, it shot right back down again. Just miraculously just happened to be in the same area that had failed to go any higher before. So remember, news isn't necessarily something that changes trajectory. It just adds a catalyst to move it faster to where it wants to go. Now, where did it go? Where did it stop? It went just on the other side of the 4 hour, this little zone right here, right? We had this little bit of a pullback with the green and the red lines, okay? Actually, let me change this to Change it to 2 purples just so we can stay consistent with this so we don't get too many confused people. Okay. Okay, so what did it do? It drove all the way back down again, kind of sucked right back in. Again, this is one of those like support and resistance traps. And then what did it do? It kind of just pulled back and is now going sideways, right? It really lost a lot of its momentum. Is it retracing? No, it's not retracing, nor would it really, because look at this little area right here, this level of basing right at the top of the zone. So it's technically sitting inside of a demand zone right now. Am I looking to go long this pair right now? No, I mean, I think it needs a little bit more. If Brexit gets solved tomorrow, then yes, it's going to pop. But I don't know when that's going to happen. The exit is not until the 31st, so we still got some maneuvering time. I know they're meeting. I wouldn't be surprised if this one is literally solved in the last week before. It's kind of one of those like final compromises. If you think about it, we still got 20 days to go. We have 23 days to go. Okay. Euro dollar. Hold on. Is that a parabolic one? Where are you seeing this? Sorry, euro dollar. Are you talking about off this? Does this look like it's retracing? Not really. Let's see. I'll tell you right now. ATR was 20. It's close, but not really. Not really. It really started its move and it was a slow move. It wasn't like a big spike to the downside on the 30-minute. And you're talking about, kind of US news time this morning. What news this morning would have used as what would have been the catalyst this morning for the move? Remember, parabolic retracements are set off of news bursts. 8 o'clock this morning, there really wasn't too much there. Again, slow, kind of a pop down, and then it started to move just in a grind to the downside. So, although it's a spike over here, it's not necessarily. I can make it look really big, but it's just barely. It's even kind of borderline from where I draw it. It's just barely 1.5 times the ATR. So, and again, we've had kind of a blunted couple days. There's a lot of small stuff in here over 3 days that have lowered the ATR on this one. Pound dollar, I don't think there was much there. Same thing. Again, big drop down and flat. Again, no real big retrace. Again, it did go lower. Okay, we had marked off these zones where we had kind of, alert me if we go to there, but it's still sitting right inside of the same zone on the downside. So, they're same type of indecision. Like I said, you guys can see from 7 o'clock this morning until now, it hasn't moved, and it's kind of gone back and forth in a little tiny range. This range, being generous bodies, you're talking about 15 pips. So, do we want to be trading that one? Nope. And again, looking at good zones right now in the 4-hour, I would mark this one off. If you guys are going to do your analysis, I'll move these 2 pieces down just to kind of make it a little easy because they're already in the charts. Whoops. Now you guys can mark that off as a potential area where we want to. Something else. You guys can move that off. Again, that's an easy one to see, right? A little drop down, a little base, and then a nice little explosion out of there. It did retest back up just a little bit into the zone, so we know it's valid. You guys can mark that off if we get any type of pop. We are through the zone, so I'd like to see it go a little bit lower before we took any shorts. Definitely have some type of potential here. If we do break below and we do get that momentum breakout, we have potential targets down here to 102, or I'm sorry, 120.41. Okay, it's about what 100 180 pips, 160 pips. So that's about a day, not even a day and a half worth of movement. Definitely possible with any type of news burst. And going into, is it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. I'm going to drag this across so you guys can see it real quick. Thursday, what do we have? 4:30 a.m. GDP news. So if we have tomorrow and we really don't have a whole lot of movement, we have GDP as something big and blockbuster for the pound coming out in 2 days. Okay, so just be aware of that one. Okay, if we just kind of move back and forth, this could be a potential Nadex news breakout, or not breakout, but a news retracement if we bounce up and pop off of this on Thursday, or if Brexit is fixed. Okay, go to pound New Zealand. Pound New Zealand. Do? Well, bounced off the lower demand, came back up, it hit the supply zone, right? And it started to push back down again. So this is an interesting one. This one did give us some white space. You guys can see the actual retracement on the 4-hour, right? You guys can see large push down. There was an area, pushed all the way down, hit it, pulled all the way back up, and then started to collapse again. So it did give us somewhat of a short entry, but it's a short entry. It bounce was not necessarily to grab more orders. It was a bounce based off of a 4-hour zone. Okay. Right. I had this one drawn for some reason and not. But yeah, so that's why from where it turned, it's actually accelerated from the trend line. I don't remember why. I got those two lines from somewhere. They were there for some type of analysis, and I don't actually remember where I got them from now. I may have pulled it from another platform in one of the pieces of analysis that I did. I feel like I did. I feel like that's why I pulled them. But so that's what anyway. It ended up bouncing off those zones, coming back to grab more orders. So a little bit different of a momentum breakout. It's not a clean area. It wasn't pulling back to find more sellers. It was actually bouncing, a little bit different. So we'll see what it does if it's able to kind of break through that area for a second time. Okay. Excuse me. Overall to the downside, I do think this 193 area, I think is going to be a little bit of a difficult area to go through because that's where this last large green candle in the daily kind of popped. So, just watch that a little bit. All right. Going across the New Zealand dollar. Now you did on the scanner, we did have a downtrend set up on this one. Now it has switched over to sideways up confirmed. And you guys can see, it's pulling its analysis from kind of a weird little area here. And the reason why it says, I'm sorry, sideways upward bias. And the reason why is because you go across, you're running into a candle versus the top side. Again, this is another one where the gap kind of made it a little bit funky and is confusing it. Now, talked about this last night. Okay, this is a kind of an area that we talked about. Actually, no, this would have been today. Sorry, this is this morning. I'm confusing my 2 days. What we did is we had this pop, kind of base, went down, kind of pulled back up to grab orders that same area, and then we had the pop to the downside. And that's kind of where we played at today. You guys can see in here between really last night, we've been stuck in that zone. So yeah, this was Monday, and then this was all Monday afternoon, and then chart school was right here. And we pulled back up into that same zone, that level of basing. But we talked about any type of short you took, it wasn't going to have a whole lot of room to run. And that's kind of what happened, right? It went back down again, and it was only worth about 20 pips. So really not really worth it. Again, that's why we didn't really set up any type of trade on it. Just not enough movement back and forth. Again, pop, retrace back down to where it's supposed to, and then kind of is pulled back up again. So it's basically sideways. Look at this on the daily, right? How much movement is that? I mean, it's literally almost like a table. Okay, so not enough meat on that one. Going over to dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss today, only down 14. As Ernest mentioned yesterday, this one had so much movement last week. I definitely think it's a bit exhausted today or this week. You guys can see it bounced off, obviously identifiable zones. This is the last time price was here. It popped. What did it do? It came down. Okay, it really grabbed kind of the bottom of that area, right? Again, we can't really see that on the daily. You guys can see the very, very bottom piece of it. But we talked about how we had a level, a blue on top of a green, on top of the gray, which is a level on top of a level. And again, be more conservative. You took the bottom side. You can see what did it do? It bounced and it has kind of come up and it just kind of stabilized. So it did pull back up to grab more orders. You guys can see it up in here, right? If you use this green, you'll see that it grabbed it. But is there really enough room for it to do much? The answer is no. Just not enough movement in that one. It's kind of exhausted. Its range is getting much, much smaller. Okay, we're talking about a total area on this one, right? From the pop of the gray up, you're talking about 28 pips. Okay, but the risk on that position, again, that risk is about 17. So are you going to risk 17 to make 28? The answer is no. It's just, like I said, this is a rock and a hard place. It's all right to make 28 when you're risking, 5 or 6 or even 7. Risking 17, you're not gonna take it. There's no reason to do that one. All right. Going across the dollar CAD again. Dollar CAD will have oil tomorrow, so we need to watch out for that one. We'll do oil last today. Once it loads, load, load, load. All right, you guys can see. What did we do from last night? Not tons. I mean, again, we were, here we are right now at the 21, going back. Where is it? 21 is right in here. Okay, so we went a little bit lower. Nothing spectacular. Still sitting in this basing zone, right? This little area right here. You guys can see there's the base of it. There's the bottom. And that's what we rode along. Okay. And then we popped up and went right back to the same top piece here. So we are still poised up at this, what, 133.18 area. I don't know. I don't know who keeps pushing this thing back up again, but it wants to fall so bad. But it's just holding and holding and holding and holding. Oil has obviously not helped this position at all. If we can get oil to collapse tomorrow, then this pair will follow it and actually it'll actually push higher. Because then that'll be CAD weakness. If oil bursts and go higher, if we go back up into the 53 or 54 range, you'll see this pair fall, okay, as CAD strength comes in, because again, the CAD economy will be doing better because of oil prices, because they were an exporter of oil. Still waiting for this one, just haven't really loved any of the entries, and there's always been something else better out there, but still bearish in this position the same exact way I have been for the last week. It's just been kind of painful. It keeps going down and then will pop, and just nothing spectacular. Looking at dollar yen. So all right. So dollar yen, we're at 107.14 right now. Okay. If you guys look back, you guys can see that we had a bit of a level here. And again, this was actually a level from before. And again, we marked it off. Okay. You guys can see we actually went pretty deep into it, but this was actually from way back over here. Okay. Um, Not the most beautiful area. Again, it's actually there. Sorry. Right. And again, we just would readjust it. This, it kind of spiked out the top. You would have to move it up a bit. So that's what it was. It was drawn here. This was the breakdown. This was the push back to the downside. Came back over again, and again with the readjustment. Large push down again. That happened at 2 o'clock today. What happened at 2 o'clock? That was when Powell was speaking. The movement total for that one was worth what, 50 pips. So not a bad little run. And that's 2 o'clock's there again. Nadex closes right here. So unfortunately, it's one of those cases where not the best position to be able to take in Nadex just because you're running out of time. You want to be, you want to take advantage of something, but you got to have a bit of movement. So this one was a little bit more dangerous, but where we were standing, we were sitting in a supply zone when news came out when he was talking. Said it sat up in that area for a long time. Really, from last night, it spent really the entire evening there, and then again, 3 o'clock here is this morning, and then it came up, and then here was the afternoon news. This was the FOMC right here. This kind of spiked back to the downside. So it was actually smaller, sorry. This one was the FOMC 25 pips. Okay, and again, extend this across. I won't move it so you guys don't think I'm cheating. There's the bottom. Yes, it triggered. Here's it too. There's the 2 o'clock move. So even if you were sitting there, it's the same. It's basically the same setup. So this one spent all night. 2 o'clock in the morning, boom, Brexit sucks. Boom. Rallies its way all the way back up again into the same purple zone. Again, I could continue this across, right? Take here to there. Same hit. Right here is 2 o'clock. That's when Powell started speaking. Actually, Powell was a little bit late today, I think. Powell was at... He ended up speaking at 2:30 today. So you're talking about this candle right here, the red one. And he was supposed to talk at 150 or whatever. Right? So, again, very typical news setup. Sitting in a supply zone when news comes out, when somebody talks, it drove down what it was supposed to do. A little bit too risky, though. I just didn't feel like we had enough movement in that one. And down to where it was supposed to. I'll move this red area. You guys can see. Take this purple line. There's the start of the move. What do we bounce off of? Not only did we hit on the spike, but then when it came back up again, it ground right back down to the same area. So still there, still valid. Again, I just wasn't, was not taking that position. Last but not least, as far as the currency pairs goes, let's look at CAD yen real quick, and then I'm going to pull the oil chart for you guys. It's 5 after 10. Potential areas here. I'm trying to think. Really, I don't love too much. I mean, really, the only clean thing is really still up here at 108.07. It's okay, but it's been a lot of time there. There's this little bit of wick over wick right here, and that's what we ran off of today. Actually, that was last night. You guys can see that here. That's where we were triggered last night. Okay, but not really anything explosive off of it. I don't know that I'd use that for a setup tomorrow. I think what we're gonna have to do is look at that one in a lower time frame. News is at 10:30 tomorrow. I think tomorrow morning the best bet would be to look at this one and see kind of where we are on a 30-minute. Looking at this on the 30-minute down here. I mean, we're here right now, so potentially if we get any type of, if we're in here for news or potentially down here in news. Actually, I'd probably say down here. They may not be bad areas to kind of take positions off of. Okay. Now, this is going to be obviously a stock currency or a spot currency, not a Nadex pair. So just again, keep that in mind when you're doing your analysis. But right now we're kind of in no man's land right in the middle. It's not a bad little area, but again, it's right in the middle of the curve, so not really super interested in it. All right, looking across, let's go back to here. It's just easier to pull it this way. Rude. Excuse me. Nice, you got some of that on Doc. Hey, I just want to let you know. I'm gonna go on the record right now and say it. Ernest hates that pair. Just FYI. Don't get him started. We'll have to hear about it all night. All right. Let's see. Can I pull this one out? There we go. This one a little bit bigger. You notice he's not saying anything, right? He's not denying it. There you go. He admitted to it. He's like, I despise it. All right, so here's crude oil. All right. Like I said, we marked this off before, and we talked about having a zone right here, right? Get this. And again, this is just going to be simple analysis. I'm not going to do anything crazy. Here is the zone. Right there. There you go. We encompass the whole. We're trying to make sure we encompass the whole area. Can I fill this with something else beside? Now you can see it. There we go. So see, whole area is encompassed. So we hit this last night, and we watched it, kind of spike up, and again push back down again. Now, looking at the formation, it's kind of an interesting situation because we do have descending wicks here. You know how much I absolutely love the descending wicks. But we do know, again, this is on a daily, we do know that there's some candles in here. And again, there's those descending wicks. I'll draw another box, right? Where is it? Rectangle. There are your descending. And bam, look what happened. You have this wedge in there between 53.97 and 51.50. Okay, so again, nice little range back and forth on the daily. Now, drop this down to something. Let's drop it down to an hourly. You can see, again, it gets a little bit more funky, but you can kind of get a little bit better of an idea of where, we are in those, respective areas. All right. So as far as tops and bottoms go, could you refine this bottom section? Probably a little bit, but it's probably safe to leave it where it is. Is there a base here? Yeah, but it spent a lot of time there. It did push away, but I don't really necessarily love it. And again, that's because this is all the overnight news. This is kind of where price was before. And again, it didn't do much today, right? It was just kind of back and forth and kind of stayed in the same area. Again, preparing for the number tomorrow. What I'd like to see overnight for this oil position, I would like to see it actually coming into. I'd like it to go to one of these two areas. Like I think honestly, I don't know if it can happen if we can get this thing to move $1, but it'd be great if we could. If we could get some type of kind of just grinding down into this zone, like over in here, right, overnight, I think that'd be awesome. Like if we could get something like that, right, some type of, again, not in one candle, guys, right, but if we can get this thing to grind down and be in this lower zone, I think that would be a pretty nice little kind of trade setup. Now, if it does stay up at the middle up here, again, it's at 43 right now. Let me delete that. Bam. Um, what we could use a spike down or up. Okay, like I said, I mean, we're kind of in like the middle of nowhere. Um, check out a 4 hour. Yeah, I mean, 4 hour showing us as a little bit of a tick here. Although I prefer, I prefer it the other way around. I prefer if the green was the high candle, not the red. But again, I'm not really loving a whole lot to the downside. But if we get a burst up into this 52 area, I could be looking to take a short on that one. If you wanted to further refine this top zone as well, I mean, you could take this one and also put something in there. Oh, that's 54.16. I mean, I guess price could jump $2, but that's got to be a huge move. To the downside, I don't like as much. For me, there's two spikes to the top side. Um, Anything else to the downside, I'm just not necessarily as interesting. But I want to see what it does. Again, remember, 10:30 release in the morning. And again, this will affect the dollar CAD. It was on the scanner. Oh, the dollar CAD was on a scanner? Or the dollar yen? Well, there you go. 54 pips on that pair, right? There you go. Let's see. 933. 9.33 times. Boom. Paid the scanner off in one trade. Yep. There you go. Paid the scanner off and then some. Actually bought the scanner like what, 3 times, 2 times? Something like that. Yeah. So it was worth the purchase in one thing. All right. So with that being said, guys, don't forget for tomorrow morning. Let me just cross one more time. Okay. Like I said, this is what we have for tomorrow morning. You have the Eurogroup meetings, and that's an all-day affair. Again, no single release. You'll get kind of scattered releases throughout the day. At 10:30 tomorrow morning, you have crude oil inventories. Okay. Again, like I said, we've had the surplus there. We just talked about that one. Gave some areas, for spiking back and forth. I do like that one for retracements, especially parabolic retracements. Fed he speaks at 11. Again, make sure you're positioned. This is the only thing that's going to screw Kuro up is that he's speaking early on. And again, this is the prepared speech. Okay, people will pick that one apart, and then the FOMC minutes is when you get to ask them some questions. So tomorrow should be an interesting day. But I will be back on for Chart School tomorrow night. Like I said, I will be setting the guest speaker up tomorrow afternoon. So tomorrow I can give you guys the full go-ahead that she is set up and ready to go for Thursday. And again, I will make the kind of official announcement tomorrow to make sure that you guys are there, kind of a special session type situation. So I may actually try to do an email about that one tomorrow too. Maybe I'll shoot that out to a lot of people in the group. So yeah, maybe we'll do an email if I get some time tomorrow. All right. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much, and I will touch base with you tomorrow. Take care. Yes, I forgot. Hold on. I always hang around just for a few minutes after, so here, I'll do it real quick. See, I knew you guys are all about the pip chips. No, I won't do the double tomorrow. Here, I'll do it this way. Okay. If you waited till the last minute, I hope you're in, but here we go. Ready? Close the ticket, draw the winner, and it's Will. That Will was like, we're going to get double tomorrow. Will's going to be like, wait, did you draw it? Here, I'll go across. I'll give Will his pip chips right now. There we go. So no doubles tomorrow, guys. There we go. You're good. All right, guys. I'm out of here. See ya.
Alright, so here we go. The final 45 push-ups. Bringing me up to 300 for the day. Which is pretty crazy, but hey. 300 for the day and 1,800 for the month.
Closed captioning for Family Guy is brought to you with Bryan. Mentos now is
20.
yes, that's it. You're getting warmer.
35. Final 10. 10.